the new president of baseball operations for your Washington Nationals, Paul Toboni, who once played for the Hawaii Allies? Elites.
Good Hawaiian, JP. Good pronunciation.
Does it look like allies?
I don't know. We're trying to get to know him a little bit here during the break and everything. And he played college, but he didn't really highlight that. They highlight what you've been doing with the Red Sox and your rise from intern now to president of baseball ops. But before that, you were a ball player.
Yep.
Yeah. I kind of got that feeling when you were talking about tag plays and stuff.
All right, yeah, I care about that, those sort of small things. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned the Hawaii Elites. That was like one of the best summers of my life. That was
to be
after my freshman year of college, maybe.
Uh-huh.
And they had us in a hotel right by Waikiki Beach, and I remember like Jock Peterson was just out of high school, living right down the hall.
Jeez.
And just a ton of great people and great players that it made for a really fun summer. So.
I would imagine.
Yeah,
it is amazing his
summer
run.
in Hawaii.
Yeah, it must be nice.
But I mean, this guy's a brainiac. He went to Cal, then he goes to Notre Dame. I was telling him, Mike Bray's a good friend of mine, and he's a hoops fan, so he knows who Mike is. And I was telling him that I talked to Mike about you being hired, and he said, well, tell him that I got a hookup for tickets. If you want to go to Hawks games, you got to hook up too, because he's an assistant with the Hawks, but he wants to come up.
He's all things DC. He's going to want to go to Wizards games and now Caps games. He's here in DC now.
But he's a Washingtonian as well. But I wanted to ask you, how did this all come about? I mean, obviously you were doing a great job in scouting with Boston, and I'm a Boston fan. I told you this all fair, so I kind of know all the young players. But how did this come about with getting in touch with the Lerner family, the ownership group?
Yeah, so how it works in baseball is basically, it was as quick as this. Like, I'm sitting in my office one day, and Craig Breslow comes walking in, and he's like, hey, got some news for you. The Washington Nationals have asked to talk with you about their top baseball job. And so then I go home to my wife that night and talk it over, like, is this something that we'd be interested in, so on and so forth. And then it just kind of rolls from there.
Right, so they reached out to you.
Yeah.
And
do you have an agent?
No, I honestly just it's funny how all this stuff works. Like, for whatever reason, baseball agency, like for executives, isn't all that common. So, but in other sports, football, basketball, it's pretty darn common.
So I didn't hear the entire presser, but I wanted to ask you: so you're the president of baseball ops? Are you thinking of hiring a GM underneath you, or are you just going to run the show from your title?
So still TBD, what I feel really good about is I have the full support of ownership. Like if they or if I believe that that's the best thing for the Washington Nationals, then they're totally good with it. But I got to get to know these folks first,
right,
before making that decision. And there's a chance we do and a chance we don't.
Who are these folks?
Really, everyone in the front office throughout the organization, all of our scouts, all of our coaches, our R&D folks, everyone. So I know there's a lot of people working within this group. I've only been here for a couple of days. I've tried to chip away, but it's going to take some time.
Paul, one of the things that jumped out at me in your presser was your quote, and I see it here on MLB.com also. I think it starts with creating a scouting and player development monster as far as like building things here. And that's a little surprising coming from somebody of your age group. A lot of people, fair or unfair, are going to say, well, he's going to be an analytics first guy. Scouting's going to go by the wayside. But that's something that's really hugely important.
That was his strength.
And your staff, obviously, that you're going to build here in Washington.
Yeah. I was an area scout, so I have great respect for the job that scouts do, the great respect for the job that coaches do in player development, obviously. But I'm also a huge believer in power analytics, and I think that can be integrated really, really well into the scouting and player development spaces, and we can get folks working together. That to me, that's where the magic happens. Like if I hate to say it, but like if you are just you got a scouting group or player development group that are just totally turned off by analytics, like it's going to be really, really hard to have success in today's game.
What was your perception of the Nationals from the outside when it comes to that department? I think back to what a great franchise it is, thinking back to 2019, like them having won. For whatever reason, I have a ton of relationships across the game. I didn't have a ton of relationships within the Nationals organization. So not that I have a positive or negative reaction to what the Nationals were doing. I just didn't really have a reaction. So one of the things we talked about during the season, and we were friends with Mike Rizzo. Mike would come on our show every week. Hopefully he'll come on our show every week. It was good to kind of get to know him, was
and you've talked about assurances, but we were kind of saying it's a little bit nebulous to us. And one thing specifically that the Washington Post wrote about is that most of the league had used something called the traject arc machine, whatever, and the Nationals didn't have that. And it was like a little indicator, maybe not, that maybe they're just not spending like the rest of the franchises and the rest of the organizations, which are spending on some of the technology now that's available for players. Did you get a chance to talk to ownership about things like that?
Yeah, we didn't like dive into like the nitty gritty details about like, you know, are we going to have a traject, and is it going to be in West Palm? Is it going to be in DC? Is it going to be in both spaces, more spaces? What we did talk about though is like, you know, the resources that they provide to build out a great infrastructure. And like I said in the presser, like I'm in the seat for a reason. I feel pretty good about it.
All right, got to ask you this. All right, because Nats fans that we've talked to over the last 5 years since they won the World Series were frustrated because the payroll has dipped considerably. And in the playoffs this year, you know this, 9 of the top 15 payrolls are in the playoffs. The 3 teams that aren't are Milwaukee, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. And Cleveland's way down, but they've got a star player and some really good young pitchers. But even when you were in Boston, you did a great job scouting and drafting guys like Roman Anthony, who's going to be a star. But Boston also went out and got Bregman, and they went out and got Giolito, and they made the trade for Crochet. I mean, they went out and got stars. You have to couple that with your strength. What would you tell Nats fans about, a possible increase in the payroll and spending more money on free agents, or have you not talked to the ownership group about that yet?
No, I think more than anything is like repeating kind of what I just said, which is like I feel great support, right?
Okay.
So, is it easier to win if you're spending a lot of money in free agency? Yes, that is like objectively true, right?
Right.
You just reference all the teams in the playoffs that spend a lot of money, but to us, like just put that aside for a second, right? Like I think the cleanest path to winning and creating a sustainable winner is identifying, acquiring, developing talent. So regardless of like what our payroll situation is, like you have to dominate that to be a contender in the playoffs.
Gotcha.
Talking to Paul Toboni, he is the new Nationals president of baseball operations. We got a lot of questions from our listeners. Let's talk about manager.
Yeah.
How do you go about making that decision? Do you have a list? Some people have tweeted us. Does he have a list? Like, what is your?
There's some big
on
names
manager?
available now too. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth with Miguel a decent amount in the early going. That said, like I feel like I said this 2 or 3 times in the presser. I didn't mean to be dodging. It's just the truth of it all. I've only been in the seat for a couple of days.
It's
right?
too early.
And so I'm looking forward to talking to Miguel, and then once I have that conversation, I think it'll be clear kind of where we're going. But more than anything, like I would want Miguel to hear from me first, like how I'm thinking through it. I think he deserves that.
All right, so a philosophy thing, and you told us you had a story, so I'm going to kind of set you up. There's the philosophy, and I think somebody asked you, actually, our pal Ryan, who works at the station, about kind of an identity for the organization, and he mentioned Tampa and the identity they have. Sometimes you can be an organization that flips prospects for great players. The Boston Red Sox did that. Give us your Crochet story. You said you had to then tell 4 players that they'd been traded who were looking to be the future of the Red Sox.
Yeah, so like once again, I go back to the importance of like identifying, acquiring, and developing players, right? Like the reason why the Red Sox were able to make that Crochet deal was because they had Kyle Teal and Braden Montgomery and Chase Maedroth and Wickelman Gonzalez to deal for Crochet, right? So when that deal when that deal went down, you know how it is. Like when you're overseeing player development, you grow really close with these players, right? And so I was close with really all.
And you're a young guy, so it's not like a 70-year-old GM dealing with these guys.
Yeah, they tell me
a guy who
things that
played.
they probably shouldn't tell me, which I love. You know, like, I just want them to.
You're
be
one of the
themselves.
guys.
Yeah,
You're in the mix. Okay.
I think part of it too is just feeling comfy in a clubhouse too, and this probably comes from my playing background, whatever it is. Like, they just trust you because I think over time they realize like I'm a normal dude and I like hanging out and BSing with them and that sort of thing. So, but going back to the story, I'm laughing, but at the time it was painful. So I'm calling, all 4 of those guys to let them know that they've been traded, and I call Kyle. So he was just here, who was playing with the White Sox, right? He was catching for him. Amazing, amazing kid. Like one of my favorites I've ever had. And So he answers the phone, and I'm thinking to myself, like, gosh, how is he going to receive this? He absolutely loved it within the Red Sox organization, right? And so I call him, and I'm like, he answers, and he goes, T-Bone, what's up, baby? And I'm like, okay, too. Like, what do I say?
I got to break the news to him. This could be tough.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I break the news to him, and he was just like silent for a period of time. I felt so bad for him, but we ended up hanging up from the call and connecting later that day. And I think it ended up being an unbelievable thing for Kyle. Like, you've seen what he's done this year. He's playing his butt off, and he's going to be a really good player in the big leagues for a long period of time.
Do you bristle at all at the Theo Epstein comps, or is that like a trailblazer for you? Like, for baseball teams to hire young, up-and-coming executives, to entrust them
like
with the
former
whole
interns,
process?
yeah.
Like, do you have a weird thing with the Theo Epstein comps, or is that like a flattery to you?
No, I think I haven't heard them first of all. But when I hear that, I'm just like, gosh, that's that's aggressive. Not because I don't believe in myself. Like, I mean, I got all the belief in the world myself, but Theo's like one of, if not the greatest to ever do it. Right? It's in our world, it's kind of like I don't know, comparing a first-year NBA guy to Michael Jordan, right? Like, it's just a really lofty comparison, and I have all the respect in the world for Theo. So I think you gotta do a little bit more.
You got to earn it, yeah.
How much you talked about it in the presser? How much did you learn from just working in that organization from guys like Breslow, Craig Breslow, who's in your position up in Boston? How much did they kind of direct you?
Yeah, so it's funny. Like, I spent all but 3 months of my 11-year career with the Red Sox, right? But it was interesting in that it almost felt like I worked for 4 different teams, because I had Ben Sherrington, and then I had Dave Dombrowski, and then I had Chaim Bloom and Brian O'Halloran.
You had a lot of guys,
I had Brez, and so those guys came from different organizations. Chaim came from Tampa Bay. Obviously, Brez came from Chicago, the Cubs, and so. I think you're able to take like a little piece of all their leadership styles, right? But you're also able to take like, hey, the Cubs were doing it this way, or Tampa Bay was doing it this way, right? And you're like, hey, I'm going to kind of put that in my tool belt going forward. And so that perspective, like, I don't take for granted, because there are a lot of organizations in baseball, right, that there's very little turnover, right, and they don't get to experience that like refreshed look. And while like, going through those changes, always it's tough, right? Like, you end up benefiting from it in some regard.
Right.
Talking to Paul Toboni, he's the new president of baseball operations here for the Washington Nationals. When did you get your hair cut? Because I'm looking on the screen and I'm right next to you. He's got like this line right here. Like, the barber did a really good job.
Thanks, man. That's you'll laugh at this. We'll give a shout out to Phoenix Barbershop in Everett, Massachusetts.
So, there you go. Was it yesterday?
It was. What would it have been 3 or 4 days ago? I took my kids to get their hair cut.
Like, he's got like this line right here, like that I don't think most people usually have. He probably took the straight edge razor. Yeah. All right, so I wanted to ask you just real quickly before we go, what do you think of this Nationals roster? So you've got some young guys like James Wood, C.J. Abrams, Dalen Lowell was the National League, the Player of the Month, not just Rookie of the Month, Player of the Month. What do you think of some of the young players that are here?
Speaking of Dalen, I don't know if you guys saw that tweet the other day, but Sarah Langs, who I think is awesome, she sent out a tweet that, I might get this wrong, but he had, I think, 7 triples and 6 homers in the month of September. The last player to do that was Willie Mays in like June of '57 or something. So
pretty good player.
Yeah, good comp.
Cool. Yeah, and just I think it once again speaks to Dalen's upside, and but obviously not just Dalen. Like, I think about obviously James and CJ and Dylan and McKenzie. I mean, there's so many players you can name. That part of it is really exciting to me, right?
The cupboard's not bare.
No, not at all. And I think. I mentioned those names. Like, there are other folks on the roster that I'm really looking forward to working with, because I'm hoping we can pull more out of them. But I think the same with them. I said it at the press conference. Like, they're already really talented players. Like, my hope is that we can tap into more.
Jason played basketball with James Wood's dad, right?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
He was at Richmond when I was there, yeah. But James is a stud. Obviously, you mentioned Dalen, stud. Dylan Cruz had the injury this year. The thing I also had the question for you was Mackenzie Gore, who didn't have a good year in terms of record, and he, obviously he's not getting a lot of run support. He pitched really well in a lot of games, but his contract's coming up and that's something I know you've thought about. Do you think about, hey, all right, we got a lot of contracts that we might have to sign. Is ownership going to be behind us when it comes to signing long-term deals, especially for pitchers?
Yeah, like going back to what I said before, like this is whatever it is, the third day in the organization,
Yeah,
right?
it's
So
still
like,
early. Yeah.
I still, I've texted back and forth with him. I knew him a little bit as an amateur player. I saw him at I think it was Whiteville High School in North Carolina. Mackenzie, I think the world of from the outside, but I still haven't really learned him as a person.
Right.
And I haven't gotten others' opinions in the organization. So we'll just take it day by day and come to learn these players, and then hopefully, I said it, we can just make good decisions over and over and over again going forward.
Gotcha.
Well, Paul, let me
Thanks
just
a lot.
point out that our studio is just 2 blocks from here. You just
Okay.
walk right down the street. We'll have an open door. You come by, hang out, and we talk basketball.
All right, sweet.
Yeah,
just do
we don't
that.
have to talk any Nats. We talk basketball.
High school
Yeah, but we're
moves.
not playing one-on-one with you. You're 20 years younger than us. We just can't hang. I heard you talking about keeping score,
Yeah.
being competitive during the presser. So no playing one-on-one. You can do that.
Your
with the
last one-on-one game against our former
You can do
intern.
that with the younger
It didn't
set.
go well.
Yeah, it didn't go well. Not going to do that
All
again.
right, that's Paul Toboni. He is the new president of baseball operations for your Washington Nationals. We're out of here. We're the Junkies. See you tomorrow.